You know the feeling. You're sitting at your desk, staring at a simple to-do list. You know exactly what needs to be done. The tasks aren't even that difficult, but your body simply won't move. Hours slip away while you sit there, wanting to work, feeling completely stuck. This state is known as task paralysis, a neurological freeze response where the brain wants to start but remains mentally stuck. Human brains operate on an interest-based nervous system. When a task lacks novelty or immediate urgency, our dopamine receptors fail to fire. Without that dopamine, the executive function required to initiate action stays shut down. The brain refuses to send the start signal. Over time, these biological glitches create secondary emotional barriers. Past failures and moments of frustration pile up into what psychologists call the wall of awful. The task itself might be small, but the anxiety surrounding it makes starting feel physically impossible. Because willpower relies on the same executive functions that task paralysis has disabled, simple effort is rarely enough to bridge the gap. Moving forward requires a tactical bypass of the system. The first tactic involves removing the activation barrier entirely. Instead of trying to write a whole report, you break the job down into micro steps, like opening a blank document and typing a single sentence. Next, you introduce artificial urgency. By limiting your work session to a very brief sprint, like the 25 minutes used in the pomodoro technique, you manufacture immediate consequences. Setting an external, ticking timer acts as a substitute for your missing internal motivation. The pressure of the countdown delivers the hit of dopamine your nervous system needs to wake up and initiate action. Short time boxes function as neurochemical interventions, providing the artificial urgency needed to jolt a frozen brain back into motion. Getting started is a victory. But surviving the middle of a project reveals an entirely new trap. If your timeline is completely open-ended, your brain will sabotage the momentum you just built. In 1955, the British historian C. Northcote Parkinson observed a behavioral principle that plagues almost every modern workplace. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. If you give yourself 3 full days to complete a task that really only requires 1 hour of focused effort, your brain will stretch the work across all 72 hours. You will inevitably waste energy on unnecessary research, fall prey to constant context switching, and exhaust yourself before the actual work is finished. Abundant time destroys focus. To maintain the momentum of the initial start, you have to construct rigid boundaries around your working hours. A 25-minute sprint is effective for simple chores, but complex problem-solving requires a different biological rhythm. This graph maps the ultradian rhythm, your brain's natural 90-minute cycle for deep focus. To achieve high-level cognitive output, this entire block must be protected from external interruptions. In the first 15 minutes, your brain is doing the heavy lifting of context loading. It is expending energy just to pull up documentation and rebuild a working mental model of the problem at hand. From minute 15 to minute 60, you enter peak performance. This is the flow state, where friction drops away and you are able to produce your most rapid, high-quality work. In the final 30 minutes, you hit deep problem solving. You are pushing the limits of your ability to handle complex system design, just as cognitive fatigue begins to set in. As the 90-minute cycle concludes, cognitive fatigue begins to degrade the quality of thought, making a reset away from screens essential to maintain long-term performance. Respecting this 90-minute biological limit separates exhausting, endless grinding from sustainable, high-output deep work. You've broken the paralysis, hit your flow state, and done the work. Now you face the final psychological hurdle, the perfectionist trap. How do you actually know when you are truly finished? Deciding when to stop means addressing the conflict between performance and productivity. Performance is strictly the absolute quality of the final product. It does not factor in the time, money, or resources you spent to achieve that result. Productivity is the rate of your work over time. If you deliver a high-performing product, but it takes you an unreasonable amount of time to finish, your productivity is a failure. When we try to maximize pure performance by working indefinitely, we destroy our productivity. We trap our brains in a cycle of diminishing returns, tweaking tiny details that no one else will notice. To beat the perfectionist trap, We have to look at our timeline analytically and find the mathematical moment to drop our tools. This chart illustrates the law of decreasing marginal returns. You can see the performance line rises rapidly at first, meaning your early work is highly valuable. But eventually, the curve flattens out. The 10th hour of polishing yields only a tiny fraction of the value of the first. The point on the chart where the cost of continued work outweighs the value of improvements is your optimal deadline. Setting this deadline externally saves us from the planning fallacy, our tendency to optimistically underestimate how long things take if left to our own devices. These external deadlines provide a psychological safety net, protecting our energy and providing the clear stop signals our internal systems often fail to generate.